Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look here again at Mana, kind of see what's going on there, and obviously try to identify where it's going to go next. If you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade, and I hope you can learn a thing or two here today. Obviously, as well, if you're not currently a community member, link in the description below. Be sure to check that out. Actually have a new website that we just rolled out with. The membership section is the only thing available currently. The website's still under development, but the whole point there is to kind of transition away from Patreon over to a much better, more user-friendly environment. So again, check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. Now, regarding Mana here, something to understand is we're coming close to the 50-day SMA. That could work as a resistance. It usually does. So just be mindful of the fact that this push, albeit very nice, could get stopped by that. It's also getting rejected potentially, or most likely tentatively, by $2.84, right there, that resistance level created by the Fibonacci retracement of 0.236. So that being said, we could see the price effectively reject off of that, which it kind of already has. And if it were to, the likelihood of it coming down to the next major Fibonacci retracement level would be 2.62. That'd be the next available potential. Just bear in mind, though, we're up over the 200-day SMA, which worked as a nice support level. So the price were to come back down, just say Bitcoin has a bad day, and goes down to 33,000. We could see somewhere range of about $2 as a rough estimate is a nice support level. But here's a cool thing, and once again, this candlestick hasn't officially closed, but it's looking very nice. And the likelihood is fairly high. We're about 5 hours from the trading day closing. RSI is up over 50. So that's a very, very good sign. We want to get back up over 50 because we can see it got rejected on the 6th. And ultimately, it's been over a month since Mana has been, back on track, so to speak, in that regard. Okay, so it's good to see this here for a change. Obviously, we got this nice continuation too. Let's see how far into this continuation we are. We're at a 6. So it could imply that we have roughly 3 to 7 more trading days worth of bullish momentum. Just note we have a strong resistance here right at about 318, and that could effectively work as a obviously a resistance shelf, as well as 284, which we've already identified. So 284 and 319, those would be good tentative profit targets. Obviously, the price were to retrace. Even if the price doesn't retrace, those would be a good profit target. Would be right around 319. So you can go ahead and get that extra little 13%. It's a pretty decent increase actually when you think about it. So all in all, good stuff here for Mana. Definitely looking good on the big picture for the 1 day. All good stuff here. We even had a MACD convergence a couple of days ago. So a lot of good stuff going here. Mana's going strong when other coins are kind of not quite sure, right? This is great. We like to see this here for Mana. It's a good sign if it's kind of moving more independent of Bitcoin. You can see there's more money coming in the market, more capitalization increasing, and coins like this, Mana, I think Sandbox is also doing very well. They're starting to take off again, and it's just a matter of time before they get back to their previous all-time highs. I've said it before, I think gaming is going to make a really, really big second push later this year, and it could actually be starting now. It's hard to say, but that could very well happen. I think gaming and decentralized finance, DeFi, those are both going to be very, very big this year. So taking a look here at Mana, of course, let's go and look at the 4-hour chart and kind of identify. We are getting rejected off the 200-day SMA, sort of. Again, this candlestick hasn't closed yet. We've got a little bit longer left in this candle, but it's doing very, very well. It's a very strong 4-hour candle. Again, we had a 4-hour candle from Bitcoin that pushed very hard recently too, right? So we got to acknowledge the fact that this isn't just Mana taking off. There's more confidence in the market with Bitcoin getting closer to 39,000. Now, if you're curious about how Bitcoin is doing, I have a video for you that I just made here today. I make a new video every day for Bitcoin, so just be mindful of that. But I recommend looking at that first, so that way you know specifically what's going on with any altcoin. Because a good trader will always understand how Bitcoin's trading first, okay? That being said, Mana's pumping, so to speak, because of that, even though it's still doing very well independent of Bitcoin, if that makes any sense, right? So those two things are very important. One thing that's kind of a cause for concern here is the RSI up over 70 on the 4-hour. To me, an RSI up over 70 on the 4-hour is overextended. You can be up over 70 on the 1-day chart and be just fine. It's this nice continuation pattern. But oftentimes, when you're up over 70 on the 4-hour, there's usually a retracement that occurs shortly after. So just bear in mind, it doesn't happen too often. You can kind of see if you look back at the history, there's only a few occasions where the price goes well above 70 on the RSI and stays there. And that was only for about, 8 to 10 hours there, or 8 to 12 hours. And so in this case, the likelihood of the price continuing much higher from here is fairly low. Now, will it retrace and consolidate? It's hard to say. It could just go sideways. But for the most part, if it were to retrace, we do have 2.62 as a good entry point, and that would be a likely bounce. Okay. Now, once again, taking a look here at this, this isn't terrible. Traditionally speaking, you should watch my other RSI video. I explain how this works, but you want to consider selling or trimming your profits when the RSI is coming back down closer to 70 versus when it just crosses above, because there could be more room for growth here from Mana. And if we do take a look at TD sequential, we can identify we're at a 5 on TD sequential here. Okay, so we're at a 5 on TD sequential here on the 4 hour, and we're at a 6 on the 1 day. So there's still 3 to 7 more candlesticks left in both time frames for the price to continue higher. Now again, will it come back right up here to 280? What is it, 284? I don't think it's going to break right through that right now. I think that's a very low likelihood just based on the fact that it's, I wouldn't say it's overextended, but it's getting there, and the RSI is telling us that. So just be mindful of that scenario here with Mana. All right, so take a look here at the HMO cloud. This is where we're probably going to see obviously some good buy signals. So we're just fine with that. It's really not telling us any indication of closing our position, right? Pretty much just write it out, all good. But the one thing you do want to note though is with TD sequential here, we're also at a 6. So, on every single time frame, we have more room for growth, okay? The only thing I want to caution you on here is that, in the 1 hour chart, we've had a pretty significant increase here in just a short amount of time. 10-11% pump in 4 hours or 5 hours, that's a decent amount, right? And that could put us outside those standard deviation lines, which we are presently. So if you look at Bollinger Bands, you can see the price is well above that. So the likelihood of a pullback is fairly high from Mana. And just keep this in mind, it'll probably pull back to the center point here, which is basically the average price there. So for lack of better terms, we're looking at about, I would say 263 is looking to shape up to be a very nice, strong support level, and the price were to retrace, okay? Let's take a quick look at the 15. We'll call it a day here. I just want to kind of see where the EMA is at. Yep, definitely well above EMA and VWAP. So all good signs there. I would say until the price comes down here to about 273, you should have a consideration to just kind of keep your position open. If it comes down below 273, that'd be a good consideration to sell. And then also, if we take a look here at the volume weighted average price, we can see how far outside of those standard deviation lines we are. That's pretty significant, right? Anytime you see that kind of growth outside, if we look back at the history, it's always corrected itself. See, every single time it comes back down. So if we look at this is well outside of those lines. I think we're in a case in point where we're going to see a pullback soon, and it'll pull back to one of two places, 273 or 262. Okay, so those would be good entry points for Mana if you were going to consider buying the next dip if the price were to come back down. Okay. So all good stuff here for Mana. I really like it. It's looking very good. I think we're tentatively back on track. And again, I say tentatively just because if Bitcoin can't close above the, that downward trend line on the 1 day candlestick here today, we might have some trouble. Obviously, this coin could continue to progress upwards, but the likelihood of it doing so if Bitcoin is shooting down to 33,000 is pretty low. We got to be mindful of that. If we look at this here, this happened when Bitcoin dumped from 42 to 33, right? So what would happen again if Bitcoin does the same thing, right? And Bitcoin does love double bottoms, so I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back down, but I'm expecting Bitcoin to hit 40,000 first and then retrace. So I think we'll see a little bit more price action for Mana. I do feel like in the near future we'll see 319 tested, but that'll be a point of contention where we might actually see a consolidation effort there, and or it might get rejected. We'll see soon. But all in all, good stuff here. I'm definitely more bullish than bearish on Mana, which is a very uncommon thing to say right now in this industry. Just be mindful of how Bitcoin is affecting the industry, okay? Pay attention to that. Watch my other video if you need to, just to kind of get up to date on what's going on there, because we see a hard retrace from Bitcoin. Mana's going to sell off too. So just adjust your stop losses accordingly, right? Don't just go willy-nilly and free bird here, right? You want to have some type of structure, as either have a trailing stop loss that adjusts every time you hit your profit targets, or move up your stop loss as it gets closer to the goal that you have. Once again, anytime you take a trade, you have to have a goal in place. You have to have multiple profit targets and stop losses. If you don't have that, you're really risking a lot more than you need to, okay? Now, I cover all that in my Trading Academy. Once again, link in the description below for our new website. It is very tentative for the moment. It's mostly just set up for billing and members section only. I'll have a lot more live market data, some really cool stuff coming out here soon, but my web developers are kind of developing that, for lack of better terms, okay? So just be mindful, that's kind of what's going on there. Feel free to message me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. You take care.